This day 754 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. The sponsor can be shared more or more. The Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please come me directly. Be greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Siman Tuf Samach Vav Yud to Yud Ches. Should bring us to the end of Tuf Samach Vav. So we're actually in the middle of a discussion yesterday about the Chos V'Neir. Ufisa yesh yud. Ufisa yesh loving different rabbeinu. He says if you dollar chikosav, navu mayim al kemach, water fell on flour only. Slachleach hasak, or the sack became moist. Yochas biyad kol makom the mamlucha basak. You should hold in your hand any place which is moist in the sack. Actually call kemach shibasak until you remove all the flour in the sack. Beam of sharla. So again, you can do this. Going to slachleach bar makom such became moist on many places. Your kaya kena kemach. You should sift the flour. Bashar mutar, and the rest of it is permissible. That's only as long as it's moist. But if the moisture has dried, the sifting doesn't work. The mifrach because it's not going to clump up because the moisture is gone, so it's going to go out through the sieve at the bottom, and it's going to get mixed up with the rest. Also, in Pesach, what you can do is you can sift it and leave it till after Pesach. Use average Pesach also if the became dry. That's I guess it became dry before Pesach, but the misyabish so they can leave it till after Pesach. But the misyabish with Pesach came dry on Pesach itself. Also, the shows you're not allowed to leave it over at Kan L'Shon and Kon Beis Yosef. Mashmai Kon Pesach, so it sounds like it's before Pesach. Kosher, so it's difficult to call him based on Ma'ich Baslin. Okay, so it was before Pesach. Before Pesach, actually, what do we care? Should we just be butter? We don't say wakes up again. The bracket says here, it's hard to say this saying it's going to opinion which shows that Chosam Ner is also. You can't have Levar. Okay, so in that case, he should specify that. Kim Das Materim, Tough as Shom Leika, since there he said that those are the primary halacha. So this is what he must mean. The Vadai, you want to bake this flour before Pesach, it's not a problem. Since it's already become mixed and kneaded together, that's it. It's a suspended animation. It can't become chosam there because you're going to bake it. The kamanos in mitzvah levels of Pesach. The issue is if you want to bake on Pesach itself. Those by that I feel him in the chosam there. Then even if it doesn't wake up again, came in the Pesach. Omer have pure beef is on Pesach. The crumb is standing by itself. Havik yovish block. It's like a dry prohibition in a moist substance. Shayovish omer with the dry substance stands in and of itself. And battle over Pesach. B'shishim, and you want to nullify it in Pesach with 60, except Shita also, that you can't do. It's Pesach Mashu, because the is Pesach also in a Mashu. Yofi couldn't Pesach, if you bake it before Pesach, it's mutter no matter what. Even if the moisture has become dried up, came in the Chos of New York, it can't be woken up again to become usher, because Kfanis Arab's bato has already become mixed up and butter. The bracket says here, but saying Kain Sucham Rakam Nasam Magav Rubs, you contest because the time Chazner and Shom Mike Shuf of Pesach. The issue of Chazner only applies when you're going to bake it on Pesach itself. And there's the Tavas Agraz, but Siftas and Shami they do. Baltani seems to say the same thing. Yeah, you base the fees in the Aliyah's Daiti Barak. And this seems to be quite clear. The Avkat no Machmir Rabbein Ramah, the Yavish Yosh, I mean Chazner, even though we're Machmir like Ramah, they said even when it's dry, it wakes up again and passes. But this happens that the moisture dries up. But you sifted it all before Pesach. But never can Pesach. It's baked before Pesach. Can permit this passing where there's the potential great loss. Since the primary halach is that it doesn't wake up again on Pesach, which Kasam seem to have sign. I saw that the Baltani rope is the Shon feeling of a Kodim Pesach. Before Pesach, mutters permissible. Yes, you smoke the very line that they say. B'shas attack under the extenuating circumstances. You You should be machmir to take some of the dough, the flour before Pesach to eat it. They say, oh, whatever crumbs there were, if there were any, they would have ate before Pesach. It's like a tolin thing. And kind of showing the same quote from Ramah. Klamar li told me matzah shafa, take from the matzahs you bake, lechomat, and eat a little bit of Pesach before Pesach. He says in brackets of sifti. That's why it's why the Ramah mutzar. According to the Ramah, that's permissible as well. The Mishur Paskins halacha to rely on the Rechronim or Mekom or Makam Hefseid. Nevertheless, for the first night of Pesach, I should take other matzahs. I mentioned, I think yesterday, I don't understand what the difference in this regard would be between the first night of Pesach and the other night of Pesach. Yukimel, Lefis halacha l'maisakenu. This is the practical psak. If the sack became moist in one specific location, Yochas biyado zeh, Hamakom, hold this place, like kind of close it, hold it, so the stuff doesn't come out of that place. I'd try to remove all the flour. And of course, not that moist area. Nevertheless, sift it afterwards to see if anything clumps together on top. That's only a chumrah. But Dikon said, to hold the place where it became moist. It works even when the place became moist, has already been dry, it become dry. Bishop says even became dry in Pesach. Sharatzion says Chai Adam is Mako only for a poor person or perhaps a Merubah. Okay, but be as it may. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. The Kem Shed the Kom Shesh Basovik, since you are removing the entire suffix, in other words, that part of the sack you're holding separate, not only any come out of that, what concern do we have anymore? Mishra says, nevertheless, you should sift the rest of it. Makes sense. Seems like Arukh knows that way as well. There's several places which are moist in the sack. Thus, you can't hold the moist place in your hand. There's a distinction between moist and dry. The places which are moist are still moist. Then you sift oil flour in the sack, and the clumps will be moist clumps will be you won't use. Since it clumps up like a dough, it remains on top of the sieve. And if all of this flour goes through the holes of the sieve, it's a sign that the moisture was not effective in making it and penetrating to the flour. It's only on the outside of the sack. The moisture is not entered the flour at all. That's why all of it came through the sieve. Really, says me, or seems to me, the Shemaraket also the Kolokeda Kamak beyond them. You can't mix around the flour with your hand when it's inside the sieve. Because then it might come to actually pulverize the moist flour. The Yates there kind of comes to Napa, it's going to come through the holes of the sieve. Rather shake, don't put your hand in and rub around, but shake it on the outside. And then they don't come out through the holes, the clumping moist flour. This is what we're about, where it's moisture. Well, actually, it's a moisture that in paste is mutter rak biyontif imyin tzorchol kemach, but on yontif you don't require all of the flour. Rak can be ba'atzmo. You should not sift itself. It's not necessary for yontif. But you should nevertheless do it through a non-Jew. The comments here in order to be able to eliminate what comments there might be, which you would discover there. Sharatun actually says we do beer. It's a yontif, obviously. You can't burn it is by throwing it outside and crushing it with your legs. I assume that flushing down the toilet would be okay as well. We could have melacha d'oraisa. Highest thing is the melacha d'oraisa. By mir later the shvus and tell you now do something is the rabban. However, came in the ainkan bezep soles since there's no real refuse here. Lavi ab melacha. It's not the ab melacha of rikud, which is kind of like a borer halacha. Also, for sure, if it's not chametz, but rather if you leave it around, it's going to become chametz. Give a non-Jew the flour as a gift. Before comes chametz, so you don't violate bayra. By us, we don't bake on yontif altogether. We all bake before yontif. Lo nitzrach, lo no din zeh. Therefore, this halacha is moot as far as we are concerned. The Shai says you have to give it to the guy in the case we have to give it to him. Tesvav, one of the places became dry. So in this case, you hold it because there's so many moist places. So you can't hold off those areas in the sack. But on the other hand, also to sift there's no advantage. So at least some of the moist flour has become dry and pulverized. And there, Yates and Nikve is going to come out also the sieve. Therefore, it's going to do this flour. We should serve it the chayim near Pesach. Somebody holds it, gets aroused again at Pesach. Afi, according to the name according to strict law, they know chayim near that doesn't get woken up again. Mutar kshalosh v'ofer kodam Pesach. It's permissible if you need and bake before Pesach. L'chein afilu Rabbeinu Ramad belach lo min chayim near b'yavish aminan. So even according to Ramah, by belach, by moist and moist mixtures, we don't say chosim in here that it wakes up again. We yavish, but in dry mixtures it does. I mean, nevertheless, it's still permitted in this case. To bake before Pesach. The game which is now since it's got mixed together, havi kalach belach, but the Pesach it's like moist and moist, and it's negated before as long as it's before Pesach. Long Mishnah Berurah here. So it says even though by lach belach when it's a moist mixture, we don't say chosim in there that wakes up again. But balach and flour has the din of lach balach because it's fine particles. Yeshua, I can say that's not might be true in general, but that he says that the crumbs they don't get so mixed up very well in the flour and they remain independent. And it's possible that even in the when he needs the dough, they did not get pulverized and get mixed up. And when they not get pulverized and they got mixed up. And then when today's Pesach come, they ask her again. And you're not allowed to eat it, even if you bake it before Pesach. Okay. Yeah, because it's chametz and it's not butter. Okay, Prichoder says that lach belach is not chosim in air. Not like we just said. Okay, that's very complicated. Let's gloss over that lightly for now. Let's go back to Arukh HaShulchan. So he says that before Pesach it's batik. Zayin the kemach avilach belach. I've levels Pesach also, but bake on Pesach also. If you lo min chazim there, even though it's chazim there, should have chametz bein but Pesach because it's outright chametz on Pesach. Mashlam seafood out. Pesach is mashkosavlu seafood base. That what you want to see base if he's yarbish and never come on Pesach. That came dry and baked before Pesach. Ain't I at there? Since it's not applied rock behefse meruba unless there's a great loss. Mishum divrei Rabbeinu Ramah, like Ramah says. Okay. No, that what you wrote down, see for your base, that if it got dry and baked before Pesach, then it's only at mutzah because of hefsem meruba. According to the Ramah, no, it's not true. That field of mutzah even according to what he says, it's mutzah deliberately. Because it's like moist and moist. A pasuk is called so many sabish. The pasuk come on right to ask him when it becomes dry. Zelian levels for Pesach. That's in terms of baking on Pesach. Or according to the opinion that it says that even when it's a moist mixture, it can wake up again. But for us, according to Psak Ramah, it is mutar lechatchila. Okay, it says back. It's kinder than he was taiti. Test Zayin. If mice ate from the flour, yesh or mishkasa, those are right. The kacha makamu is you should remove that area and around it as well. As and the rest of it you should sift and you can eat on Pesach. It's no different than the water we just spoke about, which fell on the flour in one place. Was that feel like Pesach mutter? And in this case, it's even mutter on Pesach itself. Come on, b'mayim b'makom echad. Yeah, just like water would fell on one part of the sack. Yes, usually goes there. Those who complain about this. The hanech bir ninu. Mouse are wicked. And they go throughout the sack and eat randomly and indiscriminately. Because especially if the flour is in a jug, they go through the entire jug. So it's not like moisture which hit the sack in one place. Let me say the answer. Rejects this. Even they went in the entire flour time, we don't know for sure. She tivu shamrok that they drip saliva. I was talking to Rabbanon, therefore it's a suffix Rabbanon. He writes, we bought them. We don't have to be so machmir. Mishmir says, yeah, but still, should be machmir if it's not a mishas chag or have same ruben. V'ikar davar is just stopping imroka machmir. So I'm not even sure if mouse saliva causes chametz. B'mash gosavnu. Sifalef, like we wrote previously in Sifalef. Which word holds it definitely makes chametz. Therefore, we only have to consider a place where we actually saw the mice at work. Yud Zayin, V'yesh Misha Kosav, that those who wrote Belashon Zeh, as follows: Achbarim she'achlu k'kemach, if mice ate from the flour, and Yisab shekol Pesach, if it was dry before Pesach, Yirak then was sifted v'yishmein arecha Pesach, you said after Pesach. V'yinim so kach b'Pesach, this found Pesach, hakol also one of the other things also by Noeh. If the sack is in its place, below Nianor, without shaking, when and the flour didn't get mixed up inside, as Yochas built the Makom HaNashuch, you showed the place where it became kind of a seized up of Yikshar Sham Tachas and the Shikha, and you should try underneath that area. In Tzas Kemach with a little bit of flour. Not call Kemach Shemsak then and move all the other flour in the sack. Knock this area off where the sack got wet and move the flour in the rest of the sack and sift it. Mutar Shosov also the Pesach, you're allowed to use to keep around, but you can't eat it on Pesach. Kozek Shnir Shachal Achbar Tzazim coming. There's going to be so the mouse ate something of the flour. A noshcho, raka sack, but if they only bit the sack, they something ochim yakem in lab. We're not sure they ate from that flour. I feel him say Pesach, even if it's found Pesach, Mutar Shosov, you can leave it after Pesach. Flik lachmir b'chumas yiselis. And there are those people who, the person who's machmir here is machmir too exaggerately. So tov machmir atzol osachem. You want to machmir for yourself, not for others. Because the primary law is kasa b'chamei agdolim. Marami Lublin writes, if you have sacks which were bitten by mouse and you sifted the flour, and there's a concern maybe someplace came dry, and it's going to crumble. Then you start going to get mixed up with the flour. Again, you have to have shmura matzah for the first 2 nights. So kemach yofukar and Pesach, and that you should bake before Pesach. And they only have a limited amount before, because they didn't bake everything their time before Pesach. Ben lachmir bo, the machmir mutal chayimei Pesach mutal days Pesach kamishon. Zake ain't there rishara. It's similar to the first minute as yich milahina hagzayis matzah sheilu rishon, except for the fact that again the hagzayis matzah the first 2 days has to be by shomer by a it has to be that it did not get there were no mice in there. Shows that's the way the paskin lachla mice. Not sure about what I just said. There's no mice in there. The first day that you can use it the first night of Pesach. This seems old. You shouldn't use the first night of Pesach. Oh, forget. The first of being old, you should not use the first nights of Pesach. No, so it's Well, if it's been that's mutter, but it's the macher for the first two nights.